On the morning of May 13, 1944, within the dim-lit decoding room of Fleet Radio Unit Pacific, tension thickened like mist. Each intercepted burst of Japanese Morse carried consequences measured in ships, lives, and shifting front lines that spanned the world's largest oceanic battlefield. The graphite pencil of an exhausted cryptanalyst scratched against lined paper, transferring unknown syllables into English characters filled with grim strategic weight. The message referenced submarine I-16, scheduled for rice delivery toward Buin in the southern reaches of Bougainville, departure reported imminent from Truck's anchorage. Lieutenant Commander Robert Williamson adjusted his spectacles and reviewed the completed decryption sheet, realizing its potential beyond routine logistics. He understood that coded rice convoys masked essential supply arteries feeding Japan's forward island garrisons, and intercepting even one could fracture communications vital to Admiral Soemu Toyoda's southern operations. Reaching for the secured telephone resting beside classified files, Williamson issued urgent directives toward operational command responsible for hunter-killer coordination under commander of Pacific Fleet directives established earlier that spring. Orders rippled outward from Pearl Harbor's communications hub through teletype channels toward destroyer escort flotilla elements stationed near Manas and Espiritu Santo. Within minutes, 3 hulls were designated to intercept I-16's projected track line south of Bougainville. Their names carried recent shipyard sheen, yet already bore histories written across months of Pacific convoy duty. USS England, DE-635, USS George, DE-697, and USS Raby, DE-698, formed the composite group assigned interception under Commander Walton Pendleton. Aboard England, early morning watch noted clear visibility exceeding 15 miles, barometer steady, sea temperature moderate for late tropical season. Her Buckley-class structure displaced 1,400 tons when fully provisioned, engines delivering 23 knots sustained through twin turbines feeding a single-screw propeller assembly designed for endurance rather than glory. Forward of the bridge rested the latest innovation introduced by British ordnance designers, a 24-barrel Hedgehog anti-submarine projector capable of firing contact-detonated charges that exploded only upon impact with enemy hulls. As Williamson recorded confirmation logs into operational cipher booklets, the inked figures seemed detached from their human implications, yet every coordinate sealed fates awaiting unseen beneath the Pacific's vast horizon. Thus began the sequence that would render USS England immortal within anti-submarine warfare annals, transforming statistical precision into relentless destruction that would alter Japan's maritime lifeline forever. On May 16, 1944, south of Bougainville, the Pacific swells rolled heavy beneath overcast skies as England advanced toward assigned grid coordinates. Her sonar operators adjusted QGB transducer dials with disciplined precision, while Lieutenant Commander Walton Pendleton studied the plotting table under dim red illumination. At 1:07 p.m., a faint echo appeared along the bearing arc, rhythmic and irregular, signaling possible movement beneath 150 feet of water. The contact, though brief, aligned closely with the estimated course of submarine I-16, based on intelligence transmitted from Pearl Harbor's decrypted communication logs. Pendleton ordered engines reduced to 10 knots, minimizing propeller noise, while Lieutenant J.G. Bill Fraser recalculated the intercept triangle across transparent acetate overlays pinned upon the chart table. Below deck, crews prepared the 24-barrel Hedgehog launcher, each projectile loaded with 65 pounds of Torpex, secured by locking pins and manual safety interlocks. The weapon's forward elevation mechanism adjusted in fractional increments, designed to deliver an elliptical spread, ensuring at least one impact within predicted submarine coordinates. The air hung thick with oil fumes, sweat, and mechanical expectancy as tension resonated through the steel corridors of England's Buckley-class hull. At 1:24 p.m., sonar contact vanished abruptly, lost within temperature gradients distorting acoustic propagation across thermocline layers common in equatorial waters. Pendleton maintained composure, authorizing a lateral sweep at reduced speed while hydrophone operators rescanned approaching bearings in 20-degree arcs. Moments later, the faint resonance returned, stronger and clearer, precisely 20 degrees off the port bow. The Echo's pulse confirmed steady depth maintenance by an unaware submarine navigating blind beneath shifting Pacific currents. Pendleton's signal officer relayed firing readiness while deck personnel steadied themselves against wind gusts cutting across the foredeck. At 1:28 p.m., firing circuits engaged, launching 24 Hedgehog charges in sequential patterning across the ocean's restless surface. For several tense seconds, silence ruled the bridge until 6 detonations erupted underwater, bursting into thunderous columns of white spray and oil-dark vapor. As the vibrations subsided, rising slicks and metallic debris surfaced, drifting across the foam-streaked expanse. Identification fragments confirmed I-16's obliteration within minutes of attack, marking the first victory in what would become the Pacific's most efficient anti-submarine campaign. 94 Japanese sailors perished unseen, their fate sealed through mathematical precision and unrelenting pursuit born from intelligence, technology, and disciplined human resolve. On May 18, 1944, the sea south of the Solomon Islands glimmered beneath passing squalls as England continued her unbroken pursuit through the Pacific expanse. 2 days earlier, the destruction of I-16 had electrified Fleet Radio Unit Pacific, prompting analysts to re-examine all transmissions between Truk and Rabaul for patterns indicating related deployments. New decrypts confirmed multiple submarines forming a defensive patrol barrier under direct command of Admiral Soemu Toyoda, each assigned overlapping sectors to detect American carrier movements advancing toward the Marianas. At 10:45 a.m., England received intelligence detailing RO-106's recent transmission, locating her roughly 100 miles east of Buckley Passage. Lieutenant Commander Pendleton immediately ordered a change of course, engines advancing to 21 knots across moderate seas. Within hours, the ship entered the projected intercept region, where sonar operators resumed systematic sweeps, marking faint blips along bearing scales with grease pencil precision. Pendleton cross-referenced sound traces against previous patterns, identifying acoustic signatures consistent with the smaller RO-class submarines notorious for rapid dive capability and reduced sonar profile. By 2:10 p.m., a distinct echo reappeared, steady and deliberate, holding depth near 200 feet. Pendleton commanded engines slowed to 8 knots, adjusting attack geometry while the Hedgehog crews readied firing sequences calibrated through rangefinders linked to manual computation tables. Every calculation was deliberate, each degree of bearing corrected through accumulated experience derived from earlier Atlantic operations against German U-boats. Below deck, loaders slid shells into firing tubes, their motions mechanical yet ritualistic, transforming mathematics into lethal anticipation. At precisely 2:19 p.m., Pendleton authorized release. 24 Hedgehog bombs arced forward through humid air before vanishing beneath the surface. Seconds passed, then 12 detonations erupted in quick succession, sending dark plumes and fuel streaks across the rolling horizon. Sound technicians confirmed the implosive resonance of a pressure hull collapsing under instantaneous shock compression, a signature unmistakably belonging to a submarine's final descent. Surface debris emerged 15 minutes later, wooden planks, fabric remnants, and oil swirling in widening spirals marking RO-106's grave. For England's crew, elation mingled with unease. Efficiency now resembled inevitability, and each triumph deepened awareness of unseen men dying beneath unseen waves. The Pacific had become a mathematician's battlefield, where precision replaced instinct and algorithms rewrote courage into geometry. On May 19, 1944, the tropical horizon shimmered with low sunlight as England altered course northeast to intercept new Japanese transmissions decoded overnight. Fleet Radio Unit Pacific had confirmed additional submarines, RO-104 and RO-116, patrolling within intersecting sectors of the Bismarck Sea, their routes designed to safeguard logistical traffic toward Truk and the Admiralty Islands. Each contact now represented a fragment of Japan's collapsing underwater network, and every interception by England carved deeper into the empire's already failing communication arteries. By mid-morning, England joined George and Raby, coordinating in silent formation spread across several miles of ocean. Their task required no spoken dialogue, only synchronized mathematics conveyed through radar blips and coded light signals under strict radio silence. Pendleton's crew had mastered the sonar's rhythmic pulses, reading tonal patterns like a language born of steel and pressure. Each faint echo became a heartbeat of the unseen adversary, each mathematical correction transforming the hunt into an orchestration of geometry and intuition fused by discipline. Near midday, sonar registered the unmistakable return of a moving object, maintaining depth at approximately 180 feet. Pendleton ordered attack sequence initiation, while the Hedgehog team aligned the forward projector through narrow arcs corrected for sea drift and crosswind deviation. Within minutes, 24 projectiles soared forward in precise formation, vanishing beneath a calm surface seconds before muffled concussions rippled outward. Rising oil streaks and wooden fragments soon confirmed RO-104's obliteration. 100 crewmen lost within the abyss of imploded steel. That night, under dim starlight reflecting across the Pacific's vast mirror, England turned toward a second signal traced near Manus Channel. By dawn, sonar resumed its patterned rhythm as operators detected another submerged target moving west at low speed. The crew repeated their perfected procedure: slow advance, acoustic triangulation, computation, then silence before eruption. The resulting detonation sequence yielded 8 violent bursts, followed by an expanding column of debris and diesel slick, evidence that RO-116 had met the same fate as her predecessor. The crew's faces revealed exhaustion rather than triumph. Their efficiency had become hauntingly mechanical, the act of killing transformed into precision that required no emotion. In 12 relentless days, England's technological mastery reshaped anti-submarine warfare into a new science where humanity itself seemed slowly subtracted from victory's equation. By May 22, 1944, the waters east of the Admiralty Islands carried an unnatural silence, broken only by sonar pulses echoing through deep channels. The Japanese submarine line, once believed impenetrable, was now fractured beyond repair, its losses concealed beneath coded reports that never reached their intended receivers. Admiral Soemu Toyoda's 7th Submarine Squadron had been engineered to serve as a distant shield. Yet within 10 days, it had become a graveyard mapped only by coordinates and oil slicks drifting under equatorial rain. USS England, hardened by consecutive engagements, maneuvered with practiced economy, while her sister ships maintained defensive spacing across widening quadrants. New intercepts revealed 2 surviving units, RO-108 and RO-105, attempting withdrawal toward Truk, unaware their transmissions betrayed exact bearings to American analysts. Williamson's cryptographic teams at Pearl Harbor confirmed timing windows that allowed precise vector plotting, ensuring interception along the retreat corridors before either vessel could escape northward through the Caroline chain. On May 23rd, the first sonar contact resonated faintly through England's hull, a shallow rhythmic pulse distinct from background noise. Pendleton directed engines slowed to 9 knots, adjusting heading through small increments, as the hydrophone operator tracked bearing drift across sequential sweeps. When the Hedgehog launcher reached firing readiness, silence fell upon the bridge, broken only by mechanical clicks preceding eruption. Seconds later, a cascade of concussions shattered the surface into towering plumes. Moments passed before debris and fuel slicks confirmed RO-108's annihilation beneath collapsing pressure at depth. 2 nights afterward, radar aboard Raby captured faint surface echoes northwest of Kavieng, an anomaly consistent with a submarine charging batteries during overcast weather. Pendleton coordinated pursuit across formation spacing, converging silently until England reached optimal firing range. At 11:20 p.m., the Hedgehog projector thundered again, launching its familiar constellation of explosives into darkness. The ocean answered with a single violent eruption that illuminated scattered fragments tumbling through silvered spray. RO-105 had ceased to exist. Japan's submarine barrier, constructed through years of doctrine and sacrifice, had disintegrated within 12 days of relentless precision. The realization struck Tokyo's naval command with disbelief. Centuries of maritime tradition undone by mathematics, radar, and acoustic computation that rendered courage powerless before evolving science. In Tokyo's Naval General Staff Building, The corridors grew heavy with whispers as decoded fragments of silence arrived from the Pacific front. Messages once routine with navigational updates now ceased entirely, replaced by statistical voids that mirrored destruction no one yet dared confirm. Admiral Soemu Toyoda, overseeing combined fleet operations, studied blank communication logs reflecting the absence of 7 submarines from his 7th Squadron. He understood what a mission meant. Absence was death, and death now traveled faster than command could comprehend or counter. The Imperial Japanese Navy had once prided itself on stealth, discipline, and mechanical perfection, balanced by the human spirit of its commanders. Yet in May 1944, invisible equations written in English and transmitted through American teleprinters had penetrated that proud armor with effortless precision. Analysts within Toyoda's intelligence section recalculated patrol intervals, unable to understand how an enemy force could locate, engage, and destroy multiple submarines across such vast distances within consecutive days. Each report raised suspicions of betrayal, espionage, or mechanical failure, anything but the truth that mathematics itself had become America's decisive weapon. Naval historians later discovered that by the time Tokyo received confirmation of RO-105's loss, England had already been redirected toward new hunting grounds west of Manus. But for those inside Toyoda's command room, the pattern was undeniable. Operational diagrams once filled with patrol arcs now showed empty circles where units had vanished without distress signals or survivors. The once proud 7th Squadron, symbol of imperial endurance beneath the sea, was gone. At evening conference, Toyoda's staff officers debated plausible causes, citing Allied radar improvements, sonar evolution, and the possibility of intercepted communications. Yet none could conceive the scale of integration between code-breaking, acoustic science, and relentless tactical refinement executed by the enemy. The realization dawned slowly that Japan's doctrine of isolated brilliance, trusting courage to compensate for material inferiority, had failed against an adversary that measured war through data, not devotion. Beyond the strategy tables, Japan's shipyards continued constructing submarines destined for similar fates, their blueprints already obsolete before completion. The Pacific War had shifted beneath their feet, transformed from a contest of fleets into a battle of frequencies, intercepts, and probabilities where survival itself now obeyed mathematics alone. By late May 1944, USS England had ceased operating as a conventional destroyer escort. She had evolved into a calculating machine driven by data and sonar echoes. Her crew no longer viewed the ocean as vast or unpredictable. It had become a measured grid defined by bearings, intervals, and acoustic fingerprints recorded meticulously upon transparent plotting sheets. Every sound transmitted through the hydrophones translated into angles, distances, and mathematical probabilities, transforming the chaos of the Pacific into a controlled laboratory for systematic extermination. Pendleton's men no longer cheered when explosions surfaced proof of another victory. Their expressions remained unreadable beneath the glow of red bridge lamps, reflecting fatigue interwoven with grim acceptance. Each new contact confirmed less the thrill of combat and more the inevitability of outcome. When sonar operators announced bearing adjustments, calculations unfolded automatically, engine revolutions reduced, firing arcs recalibrated, projector elevation modified to match corrected depth readings. In those quiet mechanical exchanges, humanity felt distant, replaced by rhythm, timing, and numbers that decided life or death without hesitation. Observers aboard George later described watching England's attack sequences unfold like clockwork precision, each Hedgehog barrage perfectly synchronized to sonar pulses measured seconds apart. The resulting detonations produced distinct vibrations traveling across calm evening waters, followed by fragments surfacing without survivors or signals. The sea absorbed both destruction and silence, as though acknowledging the rise of a new warfare discipline ungoverned by emotion. Pendleton himself maintained immaculate logs detailing every engagement, time, bearing, target type, and depth, entries written with cold exactitude befitting scientific documentation rather than battle reports. To outside eyes, they appeared emotionless, Yet within those records lay transformation. Man yielding authority to mechanism, intuition replaced by calculation, courage converted into repetition. The crew executed procedures flawlessly because deviation meant uncertainty, and uncertainty could no longer exist aboard England. As each submarine perished beneath precisely calculated detonations, the boundary separating hunter and weapon blurred entirely. The destroyer had become both predator and machine, her men components within an industrial rhythm that conquered through inevitability rather than chance. The Hedgehog's echoing pattern became more than ordnance. It symbolized the mechanical heart of a modern war, erasing the last remnants of traditional valor beneath mathematics and steel. On May 26, 1944, southwest of Manus Island, the Pacific horizon shimmered under the bruised orange light of another relentless dusk. USS England maintained her silent patrol alongside George and Raby, sonar beams probing unseen depths where the last fragments of Japan's 7th Submarine Squadron clung to concealment. Every man aboard sensed the campaign's nearing end, yet no one dared voice it aloud. Pendleton leaned over the chart table, tracing compass lines toward a fading contact that promised one final hunt before silence reclaimed the sea. At 5:18 p.m., sonar picked up faint mechanical resonance 20 miles east of their plotted course. Steady, deliberate, unmistakable. The contact behaved cautiously, diving deep whenever the escorts adjusted heading, its commander perhaps aware of the fate consuming his predecessors. England closed in methodically, engines tuned to minimal cavitation, propellers synchronized for stealth precision. Each officer moved by habit rather than command, repeating rehearsed sequences that had already sunk 6 submarines. The ocean, vast and indifferent, waited for another metallic heartbeat to cease beneath its waves. When the Hedgehog projectors discharged, 24 arcing contrails crossed above the water, vanishing into the depths like falling stars extinguished without light. Seconds stretched before sound returned, multiple detonations rolling upward, merging into a single seismic pulse that rattled deck plates and instruments alike. Oil patches surfaced moments later, accompanied by fragments of steel plating scattered across the current. The last of Toyoda's underwater sentinels had vanished, consumed by a weapon designed to leave nothing alive behind. No cheers followed the explosion this time. The men stared outward, their reflections wavering against the dying sunlight, realizing they had dismantled an entire squadron within 12 unbroken days. 7 submarines, 7 separate confrontations, 1 vessel executing a campaign unmatched in naval history. Pendleton recorded the coordinates, folded the logbook closed, and stepped out beneath the open sky, where rain began falling softly across the forward deck. It mingled with salt spray, cleansing steel that had become synonymous with precision death. As night enveloped the horizon, England altered course toward Manus for refueling, her wake fading beneath the Pacific's shifting tides. The campaign's conclusion carried neither triumph nor celebration, only the subdued recognition that something irreversible had occurred beneath those silent waves where machines had learned efficiency beyond emotion. In early June 1944, as the Pacific typhoon season approached, coded transmissions from Tokyo's Naval General Staff confirmed grim realization within Japan's upper command. Reports from the 7th Submarine Squadron ceased entirely, forcing Admiral Soemu Toyoda to acknowledge what his analysts already suspected, that the patrol line stretching between Truk and the Admiralties had been annihilated. The Imperial Japanese Navy's once prized undersea arm, trained for reconnaissance and attrition, had been reduced to silence without resistance or recovery. In rooms darkened by blackout curtains, intelligence officers deciphered fragmentary American signals, identifying repeated references to one name whispered through intercepted fleet traffic: England. At Pearl Harbor, Fleet Radio Unit Pacific monitored those same transmissions, cataloging the absence of enemy communication with clinical precision. Analysts reconstructed the 12-day sequence through sonar logs, attack reports, and decrypted Japanese code fragments. The evidence presented an unprecedented phenomenon: a single destroyer escort systematically dismantling an entire submarine squadron through coordination, mathematics, and technology, rather than overwhelming numbers. Historians would later call it perfection through inevitability. But for the intelligence officers recording the final tallies, it represented something far colder, proof that human intuition had been replaced by mechanical logic. In Tokyo, technical evaluators reviewed loss data from each destroyed vessel, seeking flaws in hull design, battery endurance, or depth gauge calibration. None of their findings explained the speed or precision of American attacks. The Hedgehog mortar remained a mystery to Japanese ordnance analysts, who misinterpreted recovered fragments as remnants of conventional depth charges. Their tactical doctrines, emphasizing silent evasion, had failed against a weapon that struck, not through pressure shock, but by pinpoint detonation directly upon contact. The realization unsettled Japan's naval engineers, revealing that their adversary had crossed from art to algorithm in maritime warfare. Meanwhile, aboard England, Pendleton's crew underwent debriefing sessions that resembled laboratory analyses more than combat recounts. Diagrams illustrated attack angles, projectile spacing, and sonar pulse intervals, every maneuver dissected until precision itself seemed routine. Naval observers documented procedures for reproduction across future destroyer escorts, ensuring the formula behind England's campaign became institutional doctrine. The Pacific warfront had shifted irrevocably, and though no celebration followed, whispers within the fleet carried reverence for the ship that had redefined undersea warfare's boundaries. By the summer of 1944, as the Pacific sun blazed over tranquil waters concealing unmarked graves, the legend of USS England had already crossed oceans. Her name appeared in classified reports circulated across Washington and London, spoken with awe among naval strategists who regarded her 12-day campaign as mathematical warfare's awakening. 7 submarines destroyed, 150 Japanese sailors lost without warning, each engagement executed with mechanical precision devoid of hesitation. To admirals and tacticians, it was proof that technology, when mastered, could redefine the boundaries of human conflict entirely. Yet for those who had witnessed the attacks firsthand, the echoes of those explosions remained louder than celebration. Pendleton often returned to the forward deck during night watches, staring across calm waters where sonar once traced the signatures of living men, now vanished without names. His officers avoided conversation during those moments, aware that behind their commander's silence lay the weight of understanding. They had achieved perfection, but perfection had stripped away humanity. Their efficiency had become their burden, their success a mirror reflecting the inescapable truth that mastery and destruction left no room for mercy. When England reached Espiritu Santo for overhaul, engineers inspected the Hedgehog launchers, noting worn barrels and damaged firing contacts from repeated discharges. Each dent told its own story, each scorch mark a record of measured violence transformed into legacy. The men received commendations, promotions, and quiet instructions never to discuss operational specifics. Official dispatches framed their campaign as tactical brilliance, yet the crew remembered it as 12 unending days where the line between duty and detachment disappeared beneath cascading detonations. The ocean, indifferent as ever, resumed its silence, swallowing every trace of the fallen. Years later, historians would inscribe England's name into naval history as the most successful anti-submarine vessel ever commissioned. But beneath those honors endured the moral question no document addressed, whether triumph earned through mechanical precision could coexist with empathy's absence. For the men who lived that transformation, remembrance became both pride and penance. Each wave breaking against the Pacific shore carried echoes of a war that had redefined humanity's relationship with its own inventions, leaving behind a haunting truth. Victory achieved through perfection always demands a part of the soul it seeks to save.